Mediocre Rumble Brothers. 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to the Mediocre Rumble Brothers. I'm Jordan, your host, and the team, Corey, Edwin, and Udon. Today we'll be talking about the upcoming Switch 2 speculations. But before we start, please be sure to follow us on the Spotify channel and like and subscribe on our YouTube channel to stay up to date with our upcoming episodes. It really helps us out. So let's go around with what we did for the week. So we'll go ahead and start with Corey. Go ahead.
So I played a bit more, getting some footage for the recommendations. So I've been kind of diving through my retro library, some PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 stuff, which is kind of nice. Played some Marvel Rivals with everybody on Friday, continuing to have fun with that.
Beating that ass.
I finished the game of the month that we'll be talking about next episode. And outside of that, just kind of been busy bouncing around some games, but it's kind of nice to get 30 minutes or an hour of like a classic game just for the recommendation stuff. I like putting those together, so it's been fun so far. Edwin?
I've been playing pretty much nothing except for Zenless Zone Zero and Marvel Rivals. That's literally all I've done this week. And actually, I've also been playing the monthly game as well. I forgot about that.
Didn't you just get finished playing it? How did you forget?
Huh? No, I'm right now. I'm playing Pokemon. We were playing Smash Brothers before that. Just so you can get some recording video of that. So I just forgot literally what I did for the past hour. But that's pretty much all I've played this week. Udom?
Well, as far as I go, I mean, I've been playing a lot of this game I found on Steam called Paleo Pines, which is basically, cozy Stardew Valley mixed with dinosaur companions, and it's all very cutesy and stuff. It's kind of scratching an itch that I was keep wanting with dinosaur games. It's not perfect, missing some quality of life stuff. The game itself is kind of it's not shallow, but it definitely could use a few more things. I'm liking it so far for a game that I got on sale for like $15. It's pretty fun. Aside from that, yeah, I did mean to play as much Marvel Rivals as I did, but for the last 2 nights, I've been playing like Marvel Rivals fucking past midnight and driving me nuts. Still enjoying the game though. Hopefully, it'll keep going on this path. It's like the only multiplayer game I'm playing nowadays. But aside from that, just playing the new story missions on Fate Grand Order, and that's probably about it on my end. So what have you been playing, Jordan?
So I did complete the game of the month. I was really happy about that. And then I felt like I did a lot this weekend, actually. I was pretty excited about it. Finally, well, I guess would say it's sort of completed. I might end up having to go back and then, take another shot at it later in the coming year because it was a lot. But I did get finished through like the normal story of Persona 5, not the Royale version, but it was definitely a fantastic story. I loved the hell out of it. It was definitely a good game for me, for sure. It was something I definitely needed. It had lots of dialogue, but it was actually in the good sense that it like just kept you going. Everything was so different, so I was really happy. Every different thing that was going on in that game, whether it was like a personal situation or there was some sort of antagonist, some sort of issue that you had to go across with an enemy or a boss or whatever, it was always different. So I just loved that. That was definitely what kept me going. And then, of course, the constantly waiting period of just like, what's the next thing going to come? What's going to happen? Just kept you on your edge the whole time. So it definitely had a good place for me to constantly stay involved with that game. So that was awesome. So I definitely thank Udon for that. That was really cool. And then I tried to pick back up on my Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. and just got my ass whooped like immediately as I played. So I might have to start that over because I really didn't know what was going on. And as soon as I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go check out this shrine, and then like this demon like figure comes out. There's a bunch of dead angels everywhere, and then he just whooped my ass like within like 3 hits. So I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So it's definitely it needs to require me having to go back over and figure out exactly what I need to do again to be efficient at that game. So it was a little bit of an eye opener for me in a negative sense, but you know, at least I know now I'll be able to jump on that game for sure. If I'm devoted as I was with Persona 5, I should be okay. So that's basically all I have. So since we're going to be talking about the Switch 2, let's talk about basically the past history with the actual original Switch before we do. We'll start with Corey, but just a couple of things in mind with this is like, do you still regularly use your Nintendo Switch? Is there any specific games you've played about it that you liked about the Switch? You know, like just the overall things that really kept you going if you do in fact have this craving to constantly look forward to the new upcoming Switch 2.
So I do use my Switch often. It's kind of, I'm a big fan of a lot of the first party Nintendo games. Zelda is mainly the game that I buy it to play, which is interesting that it's the only console I think I buy for one specific game. Not to say that I don't like play the Pokemon games or like Mario or something like that. I do enjoy those games, but I bought it so that I can play the Zelda franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises. But over the years, it's kind of turned into like my indie device because there's just so many indie games, and it's my largest game collection of modern games because they're, like 20, $25 instead of just pumping out. Switch games were $60, and they're going to do the $70 upgrade, I'm sure, with the Switch 2. But because they're premium titles or something, but like the indie games being cheaper, and a lot of the game stores near me carry them, so I can always pioneer something for a lot less than picking up a $70 game on like PlayStation 5 or something. It's just easy to collect. There's a lot more variety of stuff to try because of the indie library that they have. And I'm sure those games are also on the other consoles too, but just something about it, and I think it's probably the portability that, like, if I'm going on a plane or something, I can try an indie game on the plane, or, I could sit in bed and play it, or out in the living room or something. But, I do use it often. I probably turn it on at least once every single week. So,
Would you say it's one of your favorite consoles out of all the others that you've played?
I would probably like. Favorite console of Nintendo's that they've done. I mean, I do have a soft spot for the Super Nintendo just because it kind of was like the gateway. But with the Switch, I think Nintendo really nailed it. And of course, the Wii was cool. That was revolutionary, of course. But the Wii U was just so bad, and the joke of it being a beta for the Switch, I totally believe just because. But it was a cool concept. But the Switch is just so much better. Like a night and day type thing. But GameCube's cool, but Switch is probably my second favorite, I guess, with the bias of Super Nintendo for Nintendo products.
Okay, how about you, Edwin?
Well, I am excited for the Switch 2, just for like the new games and just better processing power. It's like I do like a lot of the Nintendo games, but it's like some of them are pretty iffy. I don't know. It was like apparently I'm the only one who had issues with Brothership, just like lagging a bit on some cutscenes because too much stuff is happening, and obviously the Questionable Scarlet and Violet problems. But you guys reassure me it's more of a development issue more than a processing problem. But I don't know how much of it would solve, but I'm still looking forward for Pokemon ZA, which not a lot of people know what it's gonna be. If it's just gonna be like Legends, or if it's just gonna be from the past or future, something like that. But that's like one game that I'm looking forward to because it goes back to one of my favorite Pokemon games, which is the Kalos region for X and Y, and also for Metroid Prime, which I am hoping that they will remaster the Prime trilogy for that. I do like the idea that, well, from the video, it seemed like the Switch 2 will be a little bigger, which would fit my giant freaking hands. Because the Switch is a little small that I have to grip it and like digs into the palm of my hand. So playing it outside from a TV like does strain my hand a bit.
So with the Switch, what would you say is it being the rating you'd give it compared to all the other consoles you've played? Is that like one of your favorite consoles, the Switch?
I do like a lot of the games that are on it. I do wish that there were like some others like from the Wii U that could work on it, but then they would just be like another Wii U remake type of thing. Because I was like, as much as the shit that Wii U gets, I didn't actually really like the console. I like the concept of having basically a DS where the top screen is on the TV and the bottom screen is in your hands. I really like that, and I wish the Switch could do something similar to that. Because I have seen like the like portable PCs like the ROG Ally, people doing that exact same thing, playing like Twilight Princess on the thing in the same way that you played on the Wii U. I just really love that concept. As for if it's one of my favorites, I like it. I don't really hate it. Like most of the problems that I have is not entirely its fault. It's just built for a universal scale than just for me. I just really chose not to buy any of third-party accessories to just make it fit better in my hands. But I still like the 3DS more than the Switch. It just has more games that tailor to me than it.
Gotcha. What about you, Udon?
I've had like not, I guess complicated is too strong of a word, but like I've had my ups and downs with the Switch. Kind of like Corey as it turned into like an indie machine, but that's because most indie games don't require all that strong of machines to run on well. Because it's like at a glance I can tell whether or not a game is going to run well on the Switch. And typically with me, performance has never been much of an issue, but we're just in the day and age now where like consistent 60 FPS is just the norm, and not being able to do that is kind of just unacceptable. And it's not even, I don't even want like high-end graphics. I prefer stylized cartoony graphics, and yet there's just so much shit on the Switch that can't run well. Like it's like, oh, Harry Potter's on the Switch, runs like crap. It's like anytime you're watching a Switch Direct or Nintendo Direct and they're previewing third-party titles, you're automatically just thinking to yourself, oh shit, that's gonna run like ass on a Switch. It's been up and down because my, like Corey is with Zelda, I'm like with Pokemon as far as my favorite Nintendo franchise. And we started off, I think, fairly strong with Sword and Shield, and then we had the fucking travesty that's Scarlet and Violet, and then Shining Pearl and Platinum, or Pearl and Diamond, like lie somewhere in between the two of them. I don't know. It's complicated to say. I love Smash Ultimate. Smash Ultimate, I absolutely adore that game. And that runs great on the Switch, showing that they're capable of making things run well as long as it's Nintendo doing it, but that's kind of the problem. They had a lot more third-party support with the Switch than like pretty much any other like Nintendo hardware, which is nice, but again, it's like, are you willing to sacrifice the performance of whatever that third-party game is if in exchange for it being portable, potentially? Which the portability of the Switch, at least for me personally, has never been a big selling point about it. I still use my DS, and our phones have games on them now. And the only time I'm ever using my Switch in a portable sense is when I'm like on a plane, like the once or twice a year I might go on a plane, I'll bring my Switch with me. And yeah, it's nice, but it's like I have other options if that didn't exist. I preferred it when they had portability and home consoles separate. So I'm still not crazy about the portability, especially because it doesn't fit in your pocket. You need to put it in your backpack or something. Like it's awkward to carry. It's not like a DS I can just slip into my pocket. So I've never been crazy about the portability Switch. I was hoping for the Switch 2 that they were going to axe the portability in exchange for more power, but clearly that's not the case, as we have the reveal trailer, and the Switch is just pretty much what you think it is. It's just the Switch 2. It looks like the OLED model, maybe even a bit better than that. And that was the other thing. They came out with that OLED model, and that was like basic. It just looked better. It had a little bit better battery life. And I don't need things to be backwards compatible. It's nice when it is. We'll get to that later. But like when it comes to like the Wii U stuff, the Wii U had a bunch of good ideas executed poorly. And the Switch I do think is a much better console than the Wii U. I've definitely had more fun with the Switch, but yeah, kind of with Corey, I'm like I've been collecting more indie games on my Switch than anything else. And yeah, it's because it's like, well, if it can run well, it might as well also be portable, because why not? But because I'm not making an exchange for the portability in exchange for like any kind of reduction in performance. So I don't know. I'm up and down on the Switch, especially because Corey's wife Angie managed to hook me up with one really, really early. So yeah. I had an in on that because so that was nice. So I wasn't scrambling to get one like most other people. I like Splatoon. Splatoon was originated on the Wii U. I played Splatoon quite a bit. That's another thing about the Switch. I mean, maybe it's not the Switch in general, but it's like I feel like Nintendo should have realized how online capabilities work by now, but I just still feel like Nintendo Online anything is like the worst thing ever, and the best thing I've seen it be used for is in Splatoon, where it's actually stable. But as I was just playing with Edwin on Smash Ultimate, there's so much fucking input lag with online Smash, it's borderline unplayable for me. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to the Switch. I'm excited for the Switch too, because like Edwin said, I want it to be more powerful. How much more powerful it's going to be, if the rumors are going to be true, whether it's not going to be like a PS4 level of power, that'd be nice. But we'll see whether that's going to be the case or not. So, yeah, that's basically it for me. I'm just kind of up and down on it. I definitely use my other consoles more, and I've had good experiences on the Switch. Like I played through Xenoblade 2, that was pretty fun, and we just played through Brothership, which is nice. But I don't know. I guess I'm not really in love with it. To head off probably your next question, as far as like, is this my favorite Nintendo console? Not by a long shot. I still think it's the GameCube for me. And if we're going to bring portable stuff into the mix, it's probably the DS. I just feel like they had more charming games that were much better suited for their graphical capabilities, so they all ran really well. I don't know. I just feel like the Switch could do better if like it was just a little bit more powerful, or people could optimize for it more who weren't Nintendo. So I'm hoping the Switch 2 is going to solve that issue. It could be so much more than it is. And I know more people get more portability usage out of it than I do, probably, but I don't know. I just feel like the portability is like a gimmick, not really a great selling point about it.
Okay. So, all right. So we're going to go jumping on to the next one. So the Switch 2 reveal. So do you guys like the design of the new Switch 2 controllers and how they're being able to show the sides that look like they were kind of like a magnetic kind of feel to it? Are you satisfied with the rumored size of the Switch 2 and, of course, the power of it and the price? What do you guys think of that? We'll start with Corey.
This is where the speculation comes into play, because like there's leaks and stuff like that, and I'm going to wait to see, obviously, from the horse's mouth when they do the direct on the 2nd. But if going off of the rumored stats of the Switch, like larger screen is fine. I don't mind. Basically, it's going to be about the same size as the Ally that I have, anyways. I mean, if they're already like the OLED is the same size as the Ally, so I would imagine that they're going to be fairly close. The controllers look like they have a bit more, I guess, ergonomic like grip to them. But I haven't looked into the way they connect, but it does kind of look like they snap in instead of slide out, because those sliders of the original Switch were kind of, I always felt like I was just going to break them. But if they're not connected in that way off of a rail system, I'm wondering how I'm also not going to break them off of this one. But the power that I've seen speculating is a PS4 Pro. That's pretty good for a Switch. I mean, for Nintendo in general, obviously they know what they're doing when it's a Nintendo-based product because, you know, we have Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. Those games look really good and they're very large, but then you have Scarlet and Violet, and I think it's just a matter of whether the dev teams are able to optimize properly for the device. Because if you exclude all of the indie products that are on the original Switch, the quality in Switch games varies tremendously from first party developers, and it's just because I think Nintendo is a master of their own product, and then they don't really share the secrets with other people, which is strange considering Pokemon is kind of under their umbrella.
It's under their umbrella, but the Pokemon Company, they operate with their own house. It's
Yeah.
not the same people. Just because they're under Nintendo, it's not the same people doing Mario and Zelda, where Miyamoto and people like that are directly like over them, making sure that
Yeah.
quality is up. Whereas like the Pokemon Company is a completely different kind of beast, just doing their own thing over there in the corner. So
Not to
Yeah.
mention that the Pokemon games aren't their biggest revenue. It's actually the card game itself. So that takes the highest priority for them.
It's just, you know, it's just strange that they wouldn't treat it with the same kind of like love that even like the Zelda Link's Awakening games have like that nice polish to them. And they're not the biggest game, but it's something with like anti-aliasing and the way that their like occlusions work and stuff. It's like a lot smoother and less like jaggy because, you know, Scarlet and Violet ended up looking like somebody's Unity project, and then you know, Ubisoft turns around with Mario Rabid Kingdoms, and that game looks really good and it plays really good. You know, they're drastically different products, but you know, Nintendo, when their name is on the cover, it's just kind of like I can kind of expect the quality of that game to be like proper. And with the Switch 2 giving them a little bit more breathing room, we'll probably see this in a Metroid Prime 4 reveal, because when they showed the gameplay I was like, that looks really good. There's no way this is a regular Switch. It like the graphics itself was very smooth, so we'll see. As for a remake of the entire trilogy onto the Switch, I don't know. I know they did the first one, and I think there's just the library of the three, right, that they ported from the Wii U to the Switch, I think.
No, it's just on the Wii U because that's the one that I own. That's why I wanted like to go on
Oh.
the Switch. All they have is
Yeah.
like the remake of the first one.
Yeah, so maybe, but you know, Retro Studios is tied up with the fourth one right now, and again, the price being 400, like 400 flat, I don't really hate it. I mean, it's kind of a competitive price when you're talking about other gaming equipment out there, whether it varies from, you know, another console to like the handheld PCs that are starting to drop left and right. But I think that's not very expensive. People were thinking it would be 300, maybe if it was a DS, but even the like, wasn't the new 3DS like $350?
I don't remember what I paid for mine.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the reveal was kind of neat. I mean, it's a teaser reveal. This is an entire episode kind of based around a minute and a half long video of the thing being kind of shown off. But you know, I like console reveal stuff. I've always gotten excited about like new consoles dropping. It used to be like the three consoles were coming out this year. Which one was under your Christmas tree kind of attitude, and you know, I do miss that feeling. But you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's usually like I try to look over everything about it before it comes out, kind of thing, because it's just neat to me.
What about you, Edwin?
Can you repeat the question real quick?
So I was talking about it's going to be basically talking about the controller design. Like, how did you like about the controller, the rumored size, and the power and price of the Switch 2?
Well, the size and powering processor is like the thing that gets me the most because, like as I said earlier, like I have big hands, so a lot of the like smaller equipment like jab into like the palm of my hand. So it's kind of why I like the Xbox controller over the PlayStation controller. It's just bigger in size, so it just fits my hand more comfortably. The PS4 processing is it's gonna look pretty nice. probably better on like the bigger screen and all that. I still wish that if you would dock it, it would have just like better capabilities on your TV. Still, it's like saying I wish I had like the Wii U's ability. The controller is a little concerning to me because the way they showed it is you just like pop it in and out from the sides, and when they popped it out, there's like a plug like sticking out from the sides. I'm very concerned that like to just be very delicate with that because I feel like it would just like snap off to the side if you don't like angle it correctly.
Yeah, it looked like some
Trying to
sort
snap
of
back in.
yeah, it looked like some sort of USB-C kind of thing.
I wonder if they're trying to eliminate the because the original Switch controllers have that slide-on L and R button when you make them the tiny little Nintendo controllers. I wonder if they're trying to eliminate that because I've put some of those on wrong before, and it's a bitch to get them off.
Yeah, those were I don't yeah, they're weirdly hard to take off, but like everything like is like on that top part of the remote. I don't know if they'll even have like those things that you slide on just to make it easier to press the buttons. It should probably just be easier just to have those buttons sticking out just a little bit, just to make it easier. But other than that, and it's like the price point seems reasonable compared to like the original Switch. I think it's just been going like up $50 each because the original Switch was 300. The question you asked earlier, the new 3DS, I think it was like around 250 or something like that, from what I remember. The last one that I saw was like 280, but that was like the Zelda one with the Hylian shield on it. So from like 250 to 300 for the original Switch, 350 for the OLED, which is what I paid for, and then 400 for the Switch 2. So it seems pretty fair.
What about you, Udon?
Well, in my case, I need to see what exactly I'm paying for because we're basing all of this on assumptions and leaks. We have no actual info until they come out and tell us what the specs are going to be. So it's like $400 $400 for a portable PS5. Maybe if it turns out to be true, I need to know what I'm paying for. Here's the thing: I'm probably going to end up playing it anyways because it's going to be Nintendo's next console. Regardless, fucking cat.
It wants an opinion.
Yeah. But so it's going to be their next console regardless, and if I want to play the new round of Nintendo exclusives, I'm going to have to buy it regardless. So the price point to me isn't that important, but I just want to know what exactly is influencing that price point. So it's like backwards compatibility shouldn't influence the price point because you just slap an emulator in there or whatever, and it can run Switch games. Not to mention, as what Corey observed when we first saw it, there's a disclaimer at the end of the video saying that like most Switch games are going to run on it. I'm going to assume it's something like 99% of them because I think that even if one game doesn't work on the Switch 2, they have to say that some games aren't going to work on it. So, and I'm thinking it's probably has to do with like probably some small handful of games that there's something about the original Switch's hardware that's specifically tailored to.
Yeah, I was reading into that, and it was people brought up like games like Wii Fit and stuff like that
That's what I said too. Yeah,
third-party tools or whatever, like extra things you bought for the Switch.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So I think any regular Switch game is probably going to be fine unless it's like super like important or super like hyper focused on whatever the Switch can do. So backwards compatibility is great, but not at all a great like selling point in my opinion. It should just be expected nowadays because emulator software is just a thing you can just put in your consoles. Like I said, I just want to know what the power is. I'm glad that the controllers are bigger. That's really nice because I have big hands too, and like it's nice that the fact that 2 Joy-Cons translates into 2 controllers. Is really nice. But when you have a bunch of guys over playing Smash or a fucking Mario Kart or whatever, holding one of those things sideways is like little baby controller in my big manly hands, and you just want to like crush the damn. And if you especially, God forbid, you don't have the little like detachable shoulder button thing, pressing L and R is a nightmare. So it's nice in concept, and so seeing that it's bigger is nice. That it's the bigger, like it's nice that the Switch is bigger, but the Switch is also going to be bigger, and it's a portable console, so like it's going to be a more pain in the ass to lug around than it was originally.
Yeah, the Switch 3 will be a laptop.
Yeah.
It's getting there. Like, so it's nice that it's big, because I also agree, it's like when I'm holding the Switch, my arms start to get tired sometimes, which, I mean, maybe that has to do with how big it is now, so if it's bigger, my arms might get tired sooner. But, I don't know. I need to know specifics to see what that price point is being justified for. If the Switch 2 can maintain pretty much any game at a consistent 60 FPS within reason, because I don't expect that Hogwarts Legacy is still going to run at all well on
No.
Switch 2. So, I mean, I guess I'll come out and like to be transparent. If Scarlet and Violet can run at a consistent 60 FPS on the Switch 2, I will be impressed and I will be fine with coughing up the money for it. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe it's a bit of a pessimistic outlook on it, but it's like I just don't believe that that's the kind of upgrade we're in for. If it is, that's fantastic. But
Honestly, I think those games are suffering from like a software issue. Just they're
oh
not
yeah, well
optimized.
clearly,
yeah.
but it's like I'm hoping for the fucking like
The Arceus game that or whatever the Legend Z game needs to be like a night and day banger. You know.
Yeah, well, I was gathering footage for this video playing Pokemon Shield, and I said it before when I randomly went back to play Arceus, but going back and playing Shield, I was like, God damn, this fucking game came out before. Yeah, Shield has its issues. It's not the fucking best looking game in the world. It has some low res texture, but overall, the game's art design and everything else runs great. Has some frame rate dips, but it isn't the 90% of the game. It's just so much nicer playing Sword and Shield than it is playing Scarlet and Violet. So. I'm just hoping that moving forward, I'm just skeptical about what Pokemon's going to do with the console, I suppose. It looks nice. I like the more sleeker design, I guess. I like how the colors are kind of inverted now. Like the Joy-Cons aren't fully colored. They're like inside the control stick and everything. They seem to have some sort of magnetic attachment now, which I found interesting because magnetic attachments was something that was left on the cutting room floor of prototyping Switch stuff when they were first initially doing it, and they couldn't get it to work because it was like interfering with the hardware itself. I mean, maybe they aren't magnets, but it certainly looked like magnets. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from there.
It's gonna have to be something that does not affect the connection over use of wear and tear, because like the slides are one way to do it because it's on a rail that literally just locks, but if it's something that's snapping in, eventually it's just going to fall out because there won't be any more pressure to hold it anymore. So it could be magnets, but we'll see, I suppose.
And it's once again, it's just like we have a bunch of pretty images. We don't have any still real concrete specifics, and we're in for a couple months wait to really get the nitty gritty of what the thing's going to be capable of. So,
well, you'll be here when that video comes out, so it'll be kind
of
fun.
We'll have a fun watch party about it. That'll be fun.
Nice.
Okay, so since we did touch a little bit on this next upcoming topic about the backwards compatibility, so we were talking about that there is going to be obviously a lot of games that will be able to be backwards compatible with the system. Now, since we're talking about the ones that can be, which games do you think possibly will not be backwards compatible, as well as do you think there's going to be some sort of upgrade that's going to be given for the older games, like kind of how the PS5 did, where you have the PS4, and if you have a PS5, it will upgrade the graphics to a better, higher quality? Do you think that would be available to the public?
Has Nintendo ever done that?
Yeah,
well, no one besides PlayStation has done that, but I also don't think Nintendo really particularly cares.
Xbox I know does it.
Like PlayStation though was doing it because they were doing the simultaneous releases of two things, and instead of like you pay $10 for like a texture upgrade or something like that. If you bought Last of Us Part 2, and then when they made the PlayStation 5 version of it, you could just put the 4 version in, pay $10, and have like the same game, I guess. It kind of requires the companies to do a once over, unless there's some AI tool that will upscale the graphics, which I'm sure that's being worked on, or moderately in use today. Who knows? But as for backwards compatibility, like we said earlier with the Wii Fit and stuff, things that require like weird third-party devices to play probably won't work. But I would also say that if it's not like a first-party developer that has access to a dev kit for the Switch 2, it might just be like a firmware type thing or something with like an update. Like if you can't get the game to this version, it won't run on that hardware. I've encountered this with an iPad Air 2. It locks at like iOS version 15 point something, but they're on 18 and it can't update anymore. So it requires you to get a new iPad. I mean, that is a hardware to hardware thing, but maybe that's kind of how some of those games will work. So if they can't update it to the proper version, then it probably won't work. And I guess that would fall on a lot of indie developers, but maybe not the digital games. But I guess if they can't update either, then it probably would be the indie or the digital games too.
Yeah, I mean, fucking the Wii Fit is the first thing I said when you were talking about you were concerned that it said not everything's gonna be backwards compatible, and that's what I figured. It's like something really oddly specific about the Switch that just can't be translated to the Switch 2 for X, Y, or Z reasons. I don't think we have anything really to worry about aside from weird games like that. There's just some weird shit about them that makes them to where they can't work on the Switch 2. So I honestly don't think that is going to be much of a concern going forward.
How did Xbox do their? Because like not everything is. I know it's Game Pass, but like, don't they have backwards compatibility? But it's limited backwards compatibility, and like, how do they decide that? Is it maybe it's a licensing issue or something like that, where they can't? Like, it could be like EA games or Ubisoft games that aren't going to work on the Switch 2 because they only had a license to run them on the Switch 1. Like that might be the case too. So.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, Xbox is like selectively backwards compatible. Like some things work, some things don't. I don't know how their emulator software works. It could be a thing because there's also stuff like there's games that prevented from going on various virtual consoles and eShops because like the games had some kind of it's usually some kind of licensing nonsense, either like the agreement ran out and the people who have sway over it don't want to like play ball, or like there's some kind of like advertise, like there's something in the game that has licensing to do with it that they're just straight up no longer allowed to use, essentially like advertisements or something in a game. I know like stuff like Wave Race, or not Wave Race, but something similar to that. Some games similar to that
Jet
had like
Moto had
advertisements.
Mountain Dew and peanut. Or
and they have,
in it.
if they want to put it in, they have to go back in and like actually change those things. And some company, I mean, you would imagine it'd be fairly simple, but some people just don't see like the need or like a return on that kind of investment. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Server based, like the console needs more information processing to it in order to run the game or something like that.
I doubt that's because it's not server based, because the emulator I believe is just on the Xbox. There's nothing about it. It's not like the games aren't streamed to the Xbox. They're just there. I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I don't really know how the Xbox emulation works. I don't know if it works the same way with PlayStation, if only selective games are going to work on there either. With Nintendo's backwards compatibility has always been it's been more of like a question of the actual like the medium at which they deliver their games, because it's like obviously a Wii U disc isn't going to work on a fucking Nintendo Switch because it's not a disc-based console. But on the other hand, it's like when the Wii came out, we assumed it was a welcome surprise that it was backwards compatible with the GameCube, because the GameCube had the weird tiny discs. But the same way, obviously, the GameCube isn't going to be able to run a Super Nintendo cartridge because it's not a cartridge-based system. But then you have weird ones where like the Wii U could run Wii games, but then it also couldn't run GameCube games for, again, some odd reason. So when the Switch, when people were speculating that the Switch was going to be basically an upgrade on the Switch, it wasn't going to be like a whole new console. It was going to be like a more advanced version of the console. I felt like because as long as it kept those SD cartridge mediums, I would assume that it would have going to be backwards compatible the entire time. I don't know. I wasn't really concerned about it not being backwards compatible because the medium wasn't changing, so there's no reason not to make it backwards compatible really. Because even like when you slightly change it, when they did with with the 3DS and the DS, when 3DS cartridges have the little nub on the side,
Yeah.
but ultimately like it's the same medium, so slapping in a DS cartridge and a regular DS wasn't going to be like a real question, you know.
Yeah.
So
There is, now that you mentioned that, there is something that I am concerned about the Switch 2, which is the same problem that I had just switching over from the original to the OLED of the regular Switch, is moving the SD card and the data over. You can't just do that, because when I moved the SD card from the old one to the new one, it just said, it was like, you can't run it like regularly. You have to reformat it to this new system. I was like, well, shit. So
Yeah.
I pretty much lost everything that wasn't saved into the cloud. And
Yeah, you have
that
to
was really
pull your
annoying.
data onto a laptop or something into a folder, then format it, then bring it over, and then move all those
Nope.
save files back. Or did it
That-
just like screw you again?
yeah, it just screwed me over again. I was like, I had everything saved on my computer and then reformat it and then put all the data in there, and then it just asked me, it was like, hey, there's data on here that doesn't belong to the Switch. You're gonna have to delete it. I was like, fuck. So I just lost all my data.
I find it aggravating because like there are like some Switch titles that uh they save data to the cloud, so like theoretically switching over save data shouldn't be that hard. You should be able to save it to the cloud and just transfer it that way. That should be easier. But then like in big games like the Pokemon games don't do that, which is really strange.
Yeah, or
Like if
Animal Crossing.
yeah, like really important games where the save data is probably, you know, the most important thing about your fucking data you have on those games. It's like it's really strange that it's not backwards compatible. Fucking it can't be saved at the cloud. I have no idea why that is. It's just one of those things where it's like Nintendo's not keeping up with the times as far as like quality of life features like that. Like I said, their online performance has always been behind everyone else's.
They're still learning how to do the internet because
They are like it's
Yeah.
unironically what that is, but it's kind of sad because it's like, come on, guys, how long has the internet existed now? Like Xbox and PlayStation have this shit like figured out by now. Why haven't you?
And I know your Nintendo account does transfer over directly, so you just log in and it keeps going. It's not like a whole new system or charge or anything like that.
Yeah. Like but the thing it's just weird because in this case, like they have had it figured out, but just for some reason you just can't save certain games to the cloud. It's really strange. I don't understand like what the thought process on that is. It's like, yeah, you can save like the whatever games to the cloud, but really important games like Pokemon, like first party games like that we have, Animal Crossing, nah, we can't save that to the cloud. It's like, but why not? What is preventing you from doing it?
Alrighty, so now we're going to jump onto our next topic. It's going to be Switch 2 versus the PC handheld. So, with the Switch 2 coming out, and obviously there is now the new ROG Ally, the others that are out there as well, like Lenovo and stuff like that, that are quite the contenders now, have been battling against each other. Now Switch 2 is going to be throwing itself out there. Do you think it has a chance of actually doing pretty well against those that are there? And do the PC handhelds, do they appeal to you guys in comparison to the Switch 2, or is it not? I'll start with Corey.
They're totally different, I guess, like fan bases. So I don't think that the handheld PCs is going to affect the Switch sales too much. I think that the handheld PCs has been something that people have looked forward to since, like, you know, Steam had tried to do a home console before. I think it was like the Steam Box or something, and then they got the Steam Deck out there, and now we have basically just really powerful Raspberry Pis that have a screen on them that we can carry around. In context, that does sound funny if you're picturing just a Pi, but the handheld PCs, like I have the Ally, and it's kind of cool. You can get Game Pass on it, so like you can still play your Xbox there. It's powerful as hell, and it has access to a massive library of stuff. Plus, you know, emulation if you're doing that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
um,
And I can definitely speak for that because again we were me Corey and Edward trying to play a game. I can't remember the name of it. It was like Dungeon something. But my actual desktop, which is good over 10 years old, which is definitely sure. But the little guy, the ROG Ally, was able to run it with no problem whatsoever. And my desktop that's running right now with this recording is literally the one that's crashing all the time. So it's pretty impressive with the amount of technology that's right within your hands.
your desktop's like, put me down. No, the like the Switch 2, like a lot of people they compare it to like the handheld PCs, and they're like, "Oh, get wrecked, noob!" Like it's Nintendo's not making this for to enter the arena of like handheld PCs. They're just making this for the people that like buying Nintendo products and just video game products in general. The handheld PC market is going to battle itself based off of which one has better battery life, which one doesn't heat into 1,000 degrees, and plays your Steam library better. But the Switch is never. They kind of copied the Switch on that. I believe with the portability thing, but I mean, I don't play my Ally as much as I should, I guess, for what I paid for it, because the handheld PCs are also, I think, like $200-300 more than the Switch. But that's because you're buying like a really nice graphics card that you can keep in your hands. As far as like a console war type of thing with the PCs, I don't think console wars really even exist anymore. I think that the Switch will be fine, and it shouldn't be compared to handheld PCs because that's not what it is. I know some people might sway differently because they're like, well, they both play video games. Why can't they be the same thing? And it's, well, once PlayStation and moves to digital only content, and then Microsoft becomes its own like multi-platform publisher rather than a hardware thing for Xbox, the PlayStation will be the one having to figure out what it's going to do, because PCs are already digital only context, and like the Switch has physical media for it, and we'll see if they keep that going too. But I know that the digital only games are coming, and it's only a matter of time here. But yeah, I think it'll be okay out there.
I mean, I've been thinking about getting a Steam Deck for a while now, but it's literally only because it's like, I just want to play Hollow Cure or some other low effort game that I don't feel like booting up my fucking computer and sitting at my desk for, or like I want to play Civ 6 for the same reason. I want to sit on my desk and want to like lay down on my couch or something. But I still haven't bought one, but again, I kind of agree with Corey. There's not really like competition per se. It's more just like the Switch is going to have Nintendo games and the Steam Deck is going to have PC only games, because we're not going to sit here and pretend. I mean, the sky's going to fall before Nintendo decides to start putting their first party properties on the PC.
They end up there, and then lawsuits happen. But that's the only way that they end up there.
So they're almost compete, even though the hardware itself is like insanely similar. They're almost competing in two separate markets, like Corey said. It's like you get a Switch, you want Nintendo games, or if you don't care, you're not going to get a Switch if you don't give two shits about Nintendo games. Why would you? You might as well just get a Steam Deck. So, it's pretty much about that. Or it's like, I don't know, like, guess for an example, it's like, I have Paleo Pines, right? I was just telling about that. I'm playing it right now. But it's like, I could buy this game on the Switch, and this game isn't like super high fidelity, so it's like, would I buy it again on the Switch? I'm like, probably. I really like it. And it's like, I could port, and it could be portable at that point. It's like, I'm not going to buy a Steam Deck to run this game specifically. I would buy a Steam Deck to run like Civ 6 on the go, but not this. So I guess in that case, I already have a Switch. Why would I buy a Steam Deck? But that's like a really niche, almost not even really like a situation that's not even like worth considering most of the time. It's like, yeah, of course, why would I buy a Steam Deck if I already have this and I think the Switch could run this game just as well? So yeah, I kind of agree with Corey. It's almost a non-issue, but it's just simply because they're just competing in two different worlds.
Yeah, the first party exclusive for Nintendo is what keeps its products more relevant, especially when they just continuously target towards children as opposed to adults. But it's like the even if they do that, obviously people are going to be ripping their games out of their physical cartridges or just the data out of the console itself in order to like make it playable on the like PC platforms, because there's I always see like videos of people playing as Shrek and Legend of Zelda. I was like, I don't know if this is like the whole purpose of like the whole community is just doing this for that. I don't know, but it's like people do that, and there's like no popular game from Nintendo that I haven't seen being played on PC and then just being modded to like become something completely different. Not that PlayStation and Xbox are like can also avoid that either, but I doubt they care as much as Nintendo's fucking lawsuit ninjas go.
Yeah. It, like the PC, like in general, like I think it was like PC gaming was more popular than console gaming or something this year. Like I would imagine that's kind of goes hand in hand with like um
Well, PCs are
like
more
streaming
accessible
and
than ever nowadays. Like building or fine, just getting a PC that's high end. I mean, quite frankly, kind of like me, I have a high end PC, kind of just because I wanted one. Like all the games I play on the PC, especially indie games, really don't require like that
yeah.
much power to run unless you're buying a PC specifically to run, Cyberpunk on ultra graphics or whatever, the biggest, baddest games nowadays on the highest graphics settings. But I think, and then it's just like PC is almost everything. Quite frankly, the last holdouts at this point are Nintendo. So if you don't give a shit about Nintendo and don't want to pay for
Yeah.
online when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, like you can get half of those other two's libraries on PC now. So it's like you might as well just make the investment in PC instead of like having to deal with Xbox or PlayStation on top of having to pay your fucking subscription, right, just to play online.
Yeah, you can just get Game Pass to play Microsoft games, and then PlayStation starting to put its first party games on PC like after like a year or something like that. So if there was an exclusive PlayStation game you wanted to play, you'll eventually get to play it. So it'll just be like, hey, PC players have basically everything, and then there's this Nintendo device. But I would say that it kind of is a similar aspect of like the Game Boys in general, as far as like how they like appear in the console market, because like Game Boy games were only on Game Boy, right? And obvious, but they weren't really competing with the consoles because they're like, yeah, that's a no contest. Of course, the Game Boy games are not as good as the console games, but they had their own lane and they stayed in it. And I think Nintendo sees that since everything is kind of going, like if we were to look 20 years down the road, maybe everything is just PC based in general, and PlayStation also is just publishing because they want to do movies and TV shows and all this other crap, so they're just going to become a giant multi entertainment platform. But Nintendo technically stopped making handheld portable games to make a main home console that became the new modern day portable game. It you could argue that it's got to compete with phones and now these other things, but it's going to be a Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy was survived longer than the Game Gear did.
But the thing is I just don't see people using that portability at all. I mean, I could remember when the DS and Game Boy were out as a kid, I'd always see other kids out and about with their Game Boys and DSs and shit. But I mean, the fucking Switch, like, yeah, it's portable in quotation marks, but like on the subway or something, people who have backpacks and stuff to carry the damn thing around, like,
yeah,
as I said earlier, I'm like, I just don't feel like it can compete with those things in terms of portability. For just even if I just left the argument simply at it doesn't fit in my pocket, so why would I? My phone does, so I'll just play shit on my phone, or just keep using my DS.
No, what I'm saying is like the like approach, I guess, is how the Nintendo Game Boys just they didn't really have any competition and they kind of just coasted forever because they just they were first party Nintendo games pretty much, but like everything else was happening on a different street where like the consoles were taking place. So I feel like since everything is kind of going PC related and heavy graphics and hyper realism and stuff, the Switch is kind of this like oddball thing that's still going to have stylized and cutesy games and things like that on it, with the occasional like mature title here, but it'll be like this little experience that you can only get over there with them, kind of like a little theme park kind of thing, versus like a giant commercial roller coaster tycoon park.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and now jump into launch titles. So since the Switch 2 is going to be coming out, we obviously probably going to have some games that are going to come along with it. Do you think that any of these titles will possibly make it more convincing to the people to want to buy the Switch 2, or do you think just the Switch 2 is just enough to get people on board?
Well, you have to launch with something, right? And like I remember the Wii came out, and I think it launched with Twilight Princess, and it came with Wii Sports. So even if you didn't want to buy a game, like you had Wii Sports, which is probably one of the most played games on the Wii in general, just because it came with every single one of them, and some people just bought the Wii only and just played that only. They didn't even buy any other games. But for the Switch, I think it came out. Did it launch with Breath of the Wild?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
so
we
it
got.
had
That's
a.
how we got our holders for it.
Oh yeah, so it was a major like first party launch title. So that's Wii with Zelda and Switch with Zelda. The Wii U, I bought it at launch night. I didn't even realize I was getting it because I was there to get chasers for a party, and they were like, are you here for the console?" I was like, "I guess." So then I ended up staying there and bringing that back instead. But that came with like new Super Mario Brothers 3D or something, which was like, okay, that's neat, I guess. And then like Nintendo Land or whatever their bullshit party game was that wasn't really that great. They need to have a pretty strong launch title, and I think they might be holding out Metroid for it because they could do Odyssey 2, but we haven't seen anything on it. Once they showcase the thing on the second, they'll probably tell us what the launch titles are going to be. But if I had to make a wild guess, they're going to need to do a little bit of something for everybody. So Prime 4 for that mature audience to get that like, you know, the potential
It,
Halo fans and stuff, and then
it,
the Pokemon game.
yeah, it might not happen, but that's what I'm banking on is that they're going to launch with Legend Z or something like that. It's possible they might not because they have all the advertising. Well, not all the like we've had like a teaser trailer really, but they haven't said when they were talking about Legend Z that it was going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. Um, Maybe they will now? Question mark. But if they're both coming out in the same year, I can't imagine. The biggest multimedia franchise in the literal world could sell your console in a heartbeat. Um, but yeah, they're gonna. Metroid Prime is definitely probably going to be a launch title. I can't imagine why they wouldn't. With
Yeah.
that and Legend Z are the only two we have like in the chamber, so to speak, right now on like big new releases that are going to come out this year for Nintendo. We don't have anything on like a new Mario game or a new Zelda game right now, as far as I know, right?
My
So
my
Isn't there always
assumption. Oh, go Edwin.
isn't there always like a Mario game to go with every single launch title, or at least like somewhere like maybe a few months down the line?
Maybe Mario Wonder. Like they might get a super version or something like that. But maybe this Mario Kart game they showcased in the little brief teaser, Mario Kart 9 could be a launch title because the GameCube launched with Blue Storm, Wave Race Blue Storm, and Luigi's Mansion, which you could say that's a very strange game to launch with because Luigi's Mansion is like a spin-off Mario game, and then it's a racing game of jet skis. So it's and I ended up with the jet ski one, and I kind of wish it was Luigi's Mansion because that would have been a much better game to play.
yeah, that they've always been trying to. They kind of
So
failed with the Wii. Well, they kind of failed with the Wii U, but that was a big contributing factor to the GameCube's like less than stellar success. Was the not basically no launch titles essentially. Like Luigi's Mansion
yeah,
still a Mario game, but should have launched with Mario Sunshine. Probably would have done a lot better.
yeah. I mean, I think if they are going to do a Zelda game, and it's been rumored for a long time, like floating around, but I think Twilight Princess is going to get an HD remake or that port of the HD one from the Wii U. They didn't put it on Switch, so I think they're going to put it on Switch too, and that will be the Zelda game that people will want to buy for. Unfortunately, it'll be a remake, but they just released Tears of the Kingdom, and there's no way in hell they have like another Zelda, like a new Zelda game behind that. Also, they did the Zelda with Zelda. So,
yeah,
they just did that. So it's like, do they have a big ass Zelda game in the wing? I don't think so. But Twilight Princess remake or an Ocarina of Time remake, honestly, would probably even hit harder I mean, I like Twilight Princess. I know that one's kind of like, whatever amongst some people because it's like super edgelordy, but that one is super cool to me. But if they did Ocarina of Time with like a full remake with like the Breath of the Wild like art style or something, like that would just be out of fucking left field. Or Link to the Past, just because it's a 2D Zelda game that they would be doing full 3D with like a over the shoulder perspective like the modern ones. That could be fucking awesome. But that I think is more of a stretch than a Twilight Princess release. So Metroid, Twilight, and Pokemon possible launch titles. If I was in a perfect world, and I probably would buy all three of them on launch. I'd just go kind of ham sandwich on that.
I mean, I was thinking about it, and I don't know what the logistical reason would it be for, because I can't imagine why you'd have to wait for the Switch. Like, what about the Switch 2 would make this possible? But I've been waiting for them to announce some kind of Pokemon exclusive, like, virtual console thing where they have all the past Pokemon titles on there, because there's no reason they can't do it. So if that was some kind of Switch 2 exclusive thing to where like that specific software somehow was exclusive to this is a bit of a stretch, and I can't imagine how they would justify
the
it.
Entire portable library.
Kind of, sort of, yeah, because they put what was it? They put red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal. They put all that on the 3DS eShop. So they already and they added compatibility with that and Pokemon, well, the past Pokemon Home, which was Pokemon Bank, but they added compatibility with it, so that they clearly have the ability to do that. But I've always been imagining they've been waiting somehow to add that to either add that to the expansion pass membership or somehow make another membership on top of like another tier of membership to access that, because that would just print money. Even as much as people would bitch about it, including me, it would print money. So it's a stretch, but that's something they could do.
Card.
Yeah, it's how I'd feel about it, because I'd love to play the old Switch games, especially if they put the DS ones on there too somehow. Like I said, I don't know how they would do it, but
knowing Nintendo though, they're probably gonna do some stupid fucking like out of nowhere game that would be like Arms 2. Like,
yeah,
Arms isn't terrible, but like at the same time, well, I know that the Smash community is going to lose their fucking minds because they're going to be like, okay, another console, a new Smash game, and it's like I don't think they're going to do another Smash game. But like if they did like Arms 2 or like a Cookin' Mama Switch 2 version or something, like some weird ass game that's going to be a launch title that's going to be like $40. Yeah, Drinking Data.
Oh god. Okay, so then we're going to be jumping on to the final topic. Very simple questions for everybody. It's going to be, are you planning to purchase the Switch 2 when it comes out, and do you believe that the Switch 2 will live up to the hype?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just because it's kind of my track record of buying consoles, outside of Sega, but I'm slowly getting those back. But I like buying consoles and trying out stuff. That's just kind of like my hobby, so I'm definitely going to be there on day one and grab that and see what the whole thing is about, and be here to share my first impressions, of course.
With me, it's going to be a yes, simply because it's how do I explain it? Nintendo's always had a thing with limited availability, and unlike a PlayStation where I can wait a few years to get a new PS5, I like a lot of Switch exclusives or Nintendo exclusive titles, and I want one as soon as possible. So as soon as I'm able to pre-order the console, and if I can manage to do it somehow, I'm going to. It's one of those things. It's like, man, I hope this investment works out.
Yeah.
I'm purchasing based on just like, I hope you guys fixed what was wrong with the past Switch, or this upgrade is so substantial that my fears will be alleviated with its purchase.
Hopefully it's not a new coat of paint and that's all,
Yeah, but again, a lot of our questions are going to be answered, well, hopefully going to be answered in April with the new Direct that'll come out directly. I'm assuming the Direct's probably going to address its specs, or at least a broad overview of its specs. And launch titles is probably going to be like the two major things it's going to talk about. So yeah, that's probably about it for me. I mean, it's a yes, but it's a yes with an asterisk. Like it's an investment. I'm hoping it will work out.
What about you, Evan?
it's not really a neither here nor there. Like I obviously would like to get it like everyone else, but it's like a more of a financial choice. So it's like the problem is that it's like yes, I could get it on day one, but the difficulty of getting it, then like if something popular like a Switch would have some difficulty into it, and considering the fact that the last time it was such a Switch shortage, not as much as like a PS5, but it was still a shortage, so it was really hard to get one during that time. So it's like if I don't get it day one, I might not get it for like a couple of months. So
Yeah.
it really depends on what launch titles they're going to be for to actually like get me. And it was like, yeah, I'll buy it day one. I was like, I'll try at least to get it.
I think the somebody from Nintendo, I don't remember who it was, but they are saying to combat scalpers, they were just going to produce so damn many Switch 2s that it would be impossible for you to not find one.
Yeah, if we're gonna go in the opposite direction, like there's just so much inventory that like no one's gonna have to worry. That'd be fantastic. I'm really getting sick of like consoles coming out and they're being so scarcely available that I
Yeah.
have to have like an in with some. Because like as I said at the beginning, with the first Switch that came out, I probably wouldn't have gotten mine for months, if not a year or two after the fact, if I didn't have an in with Angie at work when she worked at that place. So
Rip Toys
like,
R Us.
yeah, it's like if I didn't have an in, I probably would have been screwed. So that's just how it goes. I'm hoping we don't have to worry about that anymore. How or like when the PS5 was out and I had the when I was at Walmart and I randomly saw one just sitting in the case, I was like, mine now. But
Yeah.
little did I know that was like at the right when we were getting to the point that they were like the inventory is going to actually be there. So like I didn't have one for the longest time, but I can live without a PlayStation. I would rather have my new Nintendo console.
I had to get a PS5 like bundle or whatever because they were like, oh, we're all out of single PlayStation 5s. You have to get the one that comes with Miles Morales and like some sports game and something else. And then when I got it shipped to me, one of the games wasn't even in there. And then
Oh, you
was like,
too?
wait,
I didn't have it either. All I got was the
I was like,
Miles
where's my
Morales
game,
one.
bro? And they were like, oh, we ran out of that game. I was like, yeah, but you charged me for it.
Yeah, they're trying to move the fucking games no one wants to fucking buy.
Yeah,
Most
it's
of
like,
the time,
whatever.
anyways.
Yeah,
I very much enjoyed having Ragnarok bundled with my PlayStation 5. That was nice.
yeah, it's the stupid bundles is what kept it. Like when I got my dad one, I had to get like a crazy bundle as well, just because it was like they weren't selling them by themselves, and the way that you had to pre-order them, like the website's like crashing. You know, you could see your computer sweating just trying to fill in your card information.
Right.
Yeah. I guess before we move on, when do you think the launch day is going to be? Do you think it's going to be like November, like the other, like the Wii and the Wii U?
I mean, the later the better for me.
Yeah,
We're gonna learn about it in April, and then yeah, I'd probably say holiday season.
Yeah,
Unless they pull some Origami King thing, it was like, here's a direct for a new Mario game. Oh, by the way, it comes out next month. I was like,
yeah, it's
out.
It's out today. You know,
Yeah,
it's
pre-orders start today.
yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't actually doubt the pre-orders starting the day that the direct or whatever once the direct's over. But the Switch came out in March in 2017, so I mean,
Well, the reveal. I mean, unless the reveal
is
trailer,
in April, so you know.
well, the reveal trailer says coming in 2025. Now, whether that's referring to just the Nintendo Direct on it, which I doubt, but it does say it's coming out. If we're going to assume, hopefully correctly, that it means it's coming out this year, then it's coming out this year. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
if it comes out for Christmas, then that would make a lot more sense for them developing like overstocking like the entire thing. So like,
Well, you'd imagine that, but-
yeah, you got. I mean, you got to fight both scalpers and a holiday drive. So it's like so that way every single person on the goddamn planet can have one.
yeah, well, that didn't work out for the Wii.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess if I had to guess, though, I'm going to say November, specifically because of like where it falls in their like financial year, and it is right before the holidays. But it could be also releasing, like September maybe, so that they can do a restock before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't do, like, they need to make sure that like when Christmas hits that they've moved as many units as freaking possible.
Yeah, especially if they want it to reflect on their next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and now we're going to jump to our trivia. Ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so for question 1, what is the code name Nintendo used for the Switch during its development phase? Was it A, the Dolphin, B, NX, C, Revolution, or D, Polaris?
NX.
I'm pretty sure it's NX. I know the Dolphin was the GameCube, so it's not that one.
NX. I'll go with that too.
Answer was B, NX.
What did the NX stand for? Was it just like Nintendo Extreme and then they all skateboarded to work?
Possibly, I have no idea.
Thanks, trivia guy.
No problem. So for question number 2, which of these games was not a launch title for the Nintendo Switch? Was it A, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, B, Super Bomberman R, C, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or D, 1-2 Switch?
1-2 Switch.
Which one was a launch title?
Was not. Yeah.
Was not. Wait, what was A?
A was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I think that was a launch title because that came out at the same time as the Wii U. I think they had that set to go.
It's weird because I want to say Bomberman because I did buy and then trade back in Bomberman.
Well, I know. Well, it's not 1-2 Switch and it's not Zelda. What was B?
B was Super Bomberman R.
Oh, so what was C? Sorry.
C was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I think that was one. Yeah, I'm going Sherlock Holmes thing. I'm pretty sure I've eliminated everything else, so I think it's Bomberman because I'm pretty sure Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was a launch title as well.
I said 1-2 Switch.
The answer was C, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Really?
Yeah,
that
man.
wasn't a launch title? Huh, I didn't know that.
I guess it was a port of the Wii U.
Well, that's why I thought it was a launch title. It should have been easy to throw that out on release day, you know?
Yeah.
All I know is that when I got a Switch, I think the first thing I bought was Splatoon 2 for the Switch. I think it was the first thing I got.
I said 1-2 Switch because like that game existed and I didn't hear a single thing about it.
Because no one cared. It was their second attempt trying to make Wii Sports happen, but instead you just jack off the air to milk a cow.
That's what I thought. I was like, I never heard of this game, so I was like, I thought it like came out very late when I actually did see it on shelf. I was like, what the hell is this?
All right, the third and final question. What unique feature was introduced with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller compared to previous Nintendo controllers? Was it A, the HD Rumble functionality, B, the Amiibo NFC support, C, the Bluetooth connectivity for PC, or D, the motion controls?
Has Bluetooth connectivity with PC? I don't think so. That doesn't.
Yeah.
You're lying to me.
No,
Yeah,
my computer does have that. It was like
Really?
it's connected to my Pro controller.
I'm going to say the controller, but I kind of also am going to like half say the Amiibo thing because you put the Amiibo on the fucking joystick or whatever.
I was gonna say I was gonna say the motion control.
Well, the Pro
that's
controller on the
because that was-
Switch. No, because the Pro controller on the Switch, it's not the. Is it the stick? I felt like that was something different. I thought you put it in the middle of the Pro controller. I think the
For the
stick was
Amiibo,
the
yes.
Joy-Con. Yeah.
I was gonna say motion control, but I was specifically like waiting for gyro the motion on the Pro controller. But I guess I'll just say the Bluetooth then, because I know the Wii did not have that. You needed like an extra adapter for it.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bluetooth then. I didn't know it could do that.
The answer was B, Amiibo NFC support.
Really?
Hey,
Well,
my
I don't
half
feel like
answer.
I don't feel like that does it count though because the Joy-Cons had Amiibo support.
But the Pro controller of the Wii U did not do that.
Oh well, I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that's a loaded question because the Joy-Cons I feel technically came out before the Pro controller, but
Jordan,
Alright,
you
whatever.
cheated us.
yeah, I feel like I was cheating.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll be wrapping it up. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube channel to be notified of new episodes. Rate us 5 stars if you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And for all you gamers out there, just remember to keep exploring, keep playing, and keep listening. Until next time, this is the Mediocre Rumble Brothers podcast signing off. Thanks for listening.
Scalper's stuck.
Bye.
Let's hope this isn't all for nothing.
Commit.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we've mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.